Hello and welcome to another edition of One Crazy Story. I'm your host, Nate Armbruster, and thanks for tuning in, downloading, all that stuff, however you're listening. Thanks for being here. I am in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Just wrapped up a great weekend at Dr. Grin's Comedy Club. If you guys have never been or aren't familiar, you should check it out, especially if you're in the area. Grand Rapids is a fun town, man. I like it. Good club. I was opening for Lori Kilmartin, which, if you don't know, is one of the best people ever. So you should definitely check out her comedy. Any comedy fan should definitely go check her out. She's got a couple albums out. Conan. She's got her own podcast too with Jackie Cation called The Jackie and Lori Show. That's also pretty good. I've checked that out. Very funny. Both of them are great. And having spent the weekend working with Lori, I'm a huge fan now. You know, I didn't really know her before. I wasn't too familiar with her stand-up either, but she's legit. So funny, guys. So if you're a comedy fan, definitely go check out her stuff. What a weekend we had, though. It was intense. We had, this is the thing about, especially the week between Christmas and New Year's Eve. We're all in this weird, like, limbo purgatory situation where it's like, are we alive? Is it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember because I'm full of cheese and alcohol. It's just a weird week. I don't like it. I'm so glad I had shows to fill that gap of time because just sitting at home, I'm so tired of it. I'm ready to get back to normal. The holidays really threw me off this year. So I think maybe I'm just noticing it more this year. I don't know if it's any more than usual, but everybody was acting weird this weekend as far as crowds go. We had a bunch of goofs in the crowd, and I don't know if it's just maybe it's the venue because it's inside this. It's called the Bob, which stands for Big Old Building, and each floor is a different like bar or thing, right? So the top floor is this nightclub that goes all night, and it's very loud and obnoxious. But those are the type of people that come to the Bob, right? Kind of like they're going out. And so I think some of them maybe go to the show before and then go to the other after, you know what I mean? It's like you can do everything in one place. So I think you might get, maybe people are just drinking more. That could be it too. But man, we had some weird, I haven't had this many people thrown out in quite a long time. Maybe this might be the most actually, where it's like someone was kicked out almost every show. Thursday night was oddly the best show, and that's not always the case. Usually Thursdays, like it's an off night, but it was packed. It was packed, and it was the day after Christmas. Maybe people were still feeling, whatever happiness from the holiday they have left, and they came out to have a good time, and it was awesome. I was like, man, if the whole week's like this, we're going to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be great. And then of course, the next night wasn't as hot, and that's the other thing. I was like, man, because when you're doing 5 shows in a weekend, you got 5 chances to kill it, to do good. And there's usually one bad one or one weak one, not necessarily absolutely awful, but there's usually one where I'm like, that's my least favorite one of the week. But oddly enough, probably my favorite show of the week was Thursday night, which is weird because, it's the first night of the week. It's an off night, and it's just not normal. There's an open mic there's the open mic there. They do the first few comedians after the MC are open micers. They each do 3 minutes, and so that also changes the flow of the show and the vibe of the room. And they all did pretty good, so that was helpful too. It's you didn't have like really god awful sets. That's good. Yeah. So Thursday night was a blast. Then Friday night was just a shit show, man. I've never seen so many people kicked out of a show. We had people getting kicked out up until the end. You know what I mean? Like toward the end of the show, there's like 10 minutes left and someone got kicked out. I'm like, you couldn't make it 10 more minutes without just shutting your mouth, And it's just drunk people being dipshits. Like they're just yelling. And there's a difference between like people who heckle sometimes think they're helping the show or that's their excuse. I was just helping out, it was funny. And you got to like understand it was only funny because the comedian handled it correctly. You know what I mean? That was it's not their job to deal with you, but if a situation comes up, we got to deal with it and it's got to be funny. So it's on us to make it funny. You're not making it funny at all. You're ruining everyone's night. even the people around you. Nobody wants to hear that shit. But people just don't get that sometimes. And man, I had a table, my whole set, I was like doing 20, 25 minutes. And there was a table, my whole set, just kind of after everything, they would say something like, it would be like one word, but not necessarily mean or angry. Like, it was just more like, just shut the fuck up. You're just talking way too much. You know what I mean? And this was the late show. So it was like kind of a smaller audience, at least smaller than their first show Friday. And they wouldn't shut up my whole set. So, I only had 20, 25 minutes. So I dealt with it and I got through it. It was fine. It was all right. And, I think once or twice too, they have like bouncers in the room. And once or twice they had to be asked to shut up, which isn't good. If you're an adult and you have to be asked more than once, or just to be told like, hey, you're being obnoxious more than once, like what the fuck? I mean, I've been hammered, guys. I've been absolutely hammered. And I know in my worst state of mind still, if someone came up to me and said, hey, you're being really annoying and all these other people agree with me, so just please be quiet. That's all you have to say. And I shut up. I'll probably shut up for a week just because I'd be so embarrassed at, the fact that I can't handle myself under the influence of alcohol, but some people take that as a threat for some reason and they lose their shit. They're like, no, I'm going to talk more and I'm going to be a dick the whole show, so they keep yelling out shit, whatever. I get off stage, I get through it, and it went fine, but it wasn't ideal. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the best set of my life, but it wasn't like it's definitely not the worst I've ever had. So that's not, and I got through it with laughter. So that's good. Sometimes you just got to work with what you got, and it mixes it up a bit. You can't phone it in when you got some oddballs in the room. So I get off stage and Garrett, the MC, Garrett Elzinga, gets on stage. And he's like, hey, and this is the shitty part of the job of the MC. They gotta reset the room. It's like gotten a little out of hand. Everybody's been chatting. There's noise coming from the wedding across the hall. There's so many variables going on, and it's frustrating. And Garrett gets on stage. He's like, guys, just want to remind you to keep table talk down, yada yada. It's getting loud. So let's regroup. Going to bring up the headliner, that kind of thing. Well, this table, and I don't really remember the exchange at all, but this guy said to Garrett, he said, suck my dick. And I remember he said it to Garrett, and Garrett was like, well, you're just going to get kicked out now. I mean, you can't just say that to somebody. You can't say it to anybody, really. It's not the nicest thing to say. But let alone to the performer, you can't do that. Like, and what makes you think that's okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, especially like, because you're essentially threatening an employee. That's like saying that to, anybody, the server, anybody. So they get kicked out, and man, they threw a fit. I didn't say it. I mean, these are grown adults. I didn't say it. He said it. I didn't say it. And I'm like, dude, just fucking leave. And the whole thing is like, the bouncers were so nice about it too. They're like, you don't have to leave the building. Just leave the comedy club. Go to one of the other bars. You can bring your beer. You don't even have to finish your beer. You can take it with you because we're in the same building. It's fine. And they were still fighting. There's just this little bickering about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just adulthood, man. Sometimes, like, I used to think I hated kids, but now I think I just hate adults because they can drink, and drive. So it was a fun weekend. The last night's shows were great. Saturday night was pretty awesome. Great sets by everybody. We had a good time. Oh, I forgot. I totally forgot. So while all this was happening, right, Lori gets on stage after the whole kicking out of the table debacle, right? And over the course of her set, a few other people were kicked out. And like all the way up to like the last few minutes of her set, which is nuts to me because it's like, dude, you've almost made it through the whole show, and you were talking too much. We probably should have kicked you out, but there's 5 minutes left. Calm down. And they keep going. So they finally kicked those guys out too. And, it's frustrating. Being on stage and someone saying, suck my dick, like, it's just rude. There's a way it's supposed to go. And when someone ruins it, it can be frustrating. So Garrett was understandably pretty angry at this guy for just saying that when all he was saying, and he wasn't even talking to him. It was just like, guys, got to keep it down. Just talking too much. It's all good. We're having a nice time. It was fine. So Garrett and I are in the green room just kind of venting about it, right? And the conversation dissipates and we're just sitting there, and then one of the other bouncers comes in and he goes, "Yeah, I can't believe what's going on tonight. We got a bunch of weirdos in the room tonight." You know, it's like we're all just talking about how, like, what a weird batch of people we have at the show tonight. And he goes, "Oh, and also someone in the back of the room was getting a hand job during Nate's set." It's like, what? Someone got a hand job during my set Friday night. I think it was, Friday night, late show. Someone just getting a hand job. Like, I don't during my set. So I guess my jokes get people going. You know, I kind of take that as a compliment, because it's not like hey, do you want to go home and have sex? No, let's just do it here because this guy's hilarious. I used to think it was a high compliment if once you get off stage, 20 people get up to go to the bathroom, because that means they held it until you were done because they were enjoying your set. I always thought of it that way. I mean, maybe it's also because people don't want to like stand out. That could very much be it too. They could be like, this guy sucks, I have to pee, but I don't want to get up because I don't want people to see me. That's also a fair point. But I always looked at it like, if this many people held their pee just for me, I took that as, hey, this guy's great, or he's doing great. And maybe not, he's just doing great right now. But when people are holding their hand, like they can't even wait to go home to get a hand job. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, no, this guy's great. Honey, I want to give you a hand job. Like, how did that go down? Like, how did that conversation happen? Like, honey, can I give you a hand job? He's like, what? This guy's great. We're having a nice time. She goes, well, we could just do it here. He's like, you know what? That's fine. Yeah. I can still watch the show. But the idea, it's just so weird to me. You know, like, it's not even like the public sexual activity. That's not the weirdest thing to me. But the fact that you know what I mean? Movie theater, nobody sees, because there's no chance of, like, it's a little more discreet. But I'm like, dude, you guys are just basically at a bar with entertainment. Like, it's just, it's so obvious. And I was like, what'd you do? They didn't kick him out either. And I think it's a confrontation, because how do you go up to somebody when someone's dick's in their hand and you got to go, guys, can you not? Like, what do you say? You know, we're dealing with this other table. I mean, you guys are fine, but his dick's in your hand. You know, like, what do you say? So, like, the bouncer's like, I just went and, like, they know that I saw it. And so, of course, they stopped. But Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck is up? What is with people this weekend? It's the last week of the decade, guys. New Year's Eve's coming up, and that's wild. It's the end of a decade, and I don't really care. Everyone keeps talking about, every year is the end of a decade. If you go back 10 years, like, I understand we're talking 2010 to 2020, but next year's the end of a decade, 2011 to 2021. No one gives a shit about that decade. What if that's the bet? Like, what if the first year of this decade was shit? I'm not counting this decade until 2011. So my decade's almost over. Next year's the end of a decade for me. But I like New Year's because it gives you a chance to reflect and look back on look back on your life in many ways. But I don't give a shit about New Year's, man. It's just a weird. I don't know why we do it. I don't like to go. I don't go out. If I'm not doing a show on New Year's, I don't go out. I'm either doing a show or I'm at home, because who gives a shit about New Year's? Why is it fun for people? Because it's like I just saw everybody I needed to see. Like, we did Thanksgiving, Christmas. I saw everybody, and it was a good Christmas and a good Thanksgiving. I'm not going to ruin it with an awkward New Year's Eve party that I don't know anybody at. New Year's Eve has never been fun. It's always like, oh great, now we have to be up till midnight. I can't leave yet because it's just not fun for me. That's why I like doing a show. Because sometimes on New Year's Eve you can just do one show. It's at like 8:00, and you're fucking home before 10. You know what I mean? Like, that's ideal. But sometimes you do two shows or a late show that leads up to the ball drop at midnight, and that's just lame. It's annoying, but it's part of the life, I guess. So I'll be in Champaign, Illinois, New Year's Eve, telling jokes. So I'll be working. I'd rather work than go to. The people that go to Times Square got to be nuts. Times Square, not during not during New Year's, is chaos. But multiply that by 10 million. You know what I mean? It's fucking nuts. People are crazy, man. But whatever you're into on New Year's Eve, I hope it's a great one. I hope you guys have had a great decade, a great year while we're at it. And I hope in the new year you'll continue listening to this podcast because I appreciate you listening. And I hope to see you at a show soon. If you want to find out where I'm at, you can always find me online. Everything I do is at Nate Comedy, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also rate and review, subscribe everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora now, everywhere. I'm everywhere. You can listen to this. Planning on having some new interview episodes coming in the new year, so that's also fun. Working on some other shit. So I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you next week.